Good morning to everybody. To continue on the same vein that Subhash started, it's good to see a large crowd. We held this for the first time last year at the Fortune Hotel, and we had about 300 odd members who had come and participated. Today, we have, I understand, more than 600 who have registered. But of course, by the time they reach here, it'll probably be lunchtime. But on a more important note, I think Subhash touched upon what happens in Chennai. And just to add to Subhash's story of what happens in Chennai, there are busloads of people who come from upcountry Tamil Nadu, and like Madurai, Trichy, Nagarkoil, etc. They come in busloads, they come to Chennai, they freshen up, they attend the conference the whole day, have dinner, and then catch the same bus and then go back to their hometowns. So that is the level of enthusiasm that you see in Chennai for the Chennai Retail Summit, and that has close to about 700 people who normally come in to attend. Of course, our magnum opus one is the one in Bombay, which is the Retail Leadership Summit, which is more than 1,200 plus. But next year, which is in 2025, we intend to create a new format for the Retail Leadership Summit. So you will see us taking it out of a hotel and taking it to an exhibition center, and there'll be a massive exhibition come conferencing which will happen simultaneously in Mumbai next year for the Retail Leadership Summit. What I'd actually like to do is just to kick off, and to kick off I thought, what should I say? A lot of y'all are, first-hand practitioners of retail. You know exactly what has been happening in your store, in your chain of stores, in your business for the last month, for the last quarter. But what I thought I'll do is I'll kind of delve a little deeper and try and highlight some of the changes that are happening in the world of retail. And courtesy some of these changes that are happening in the world of retail, what is likely to happen to retail in the future. So I will leave two slides. One is for changes, and the second is what is likely to happen. So if you look at the drivers of change in retail, what you can see is that, I can see it here, but I can't see it there. It's come? Okay. So what we all know is that retail is getting formalized with GST happening, and with the government getting a lot tougher in terms of traceability. A lot of retailers were on the edge today deciding that it is safer, better to actually be legit rather than run the risk. Several new facilities have also come in, like digital payments, etc., which have made some changes like this. The second is that what we also know is that the investment and the cost of retail is increasing. So whether it be in terms of interior cost, whether it is in terms of people cost, whether it's in terms of the rental costs that we have to pay, all of that over the last 2 years itself have increased, and the reality is that it is increasing, and it's likely to keep increasing as we go along. Earlier, before digital marketing became something which was current, a lot of people used to advertise in Google. Google used to be cheap. Facebook used to be cheap to advertise. But today what we have discovered is that a lot of social media has realized its value, and they've all increased their rates. So we also, when we think of doing digital marketing, we do realize that the costs are high. The third is that the increasing role of store brands. A lot of you all who are in the grocery business and in the apparel business, and also to some extent in the electronics business, will realize that you are starting to build store brands. Because today you have a customer base, you have a retail network, you have the scale, and you can see gaps in the product portfolio of nationally available brands. So looking at those gaps, you're looking at seeing opportunities in terms of building store brands, either better features or lower prices or better value as far as the consumer is concerned. Consumer laws are also getting stricter. So a lot of us who are in retail know, how things like FSSAI has come, and every day there is a new set of rules attached to some old laws. So what is happening is that the responsibility that you have in retail today has increased significantly. So there are challenges that we have in terms of in terms of managing the laws in this country. One of the things we do at RAI is that we have an advocacy cell. So one part of what we do is to work with the government to be able to sort out some of the ticklish challenges in implementing these laws. And the other that we do is, in case there are retailers who are facing local challenges, then we also provide them advice, support, consultancy, etc., to be able to address those. Channels of sale are getting disintermediated. Earlier, we only had a store. Then we had online. Now you have quick commerce. Now you have direct-to-home deliveries. Now people said that people in stores will only sell to people who come to stores. But today people will send a message on a WhatsApp and buy from a store. So what you're beginning to see is that between channels and ways of communication and ways of buying, because payment earlier was physical, today payment is digital. So ways of buying, all of these have created complex algorithms where you can offer maybe 20 different things on the basis of 3 core technologies. So there is several more ways of being able to conduct retail and to be able to conclude a payment. And then, of course, because of the interest that tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 is now taking in fashion, in understanding what is happening in the larger cities, in trying to figure out why should I be behind them. Certainly during COVID, a lot of people who lived in metros moved back to smaller towns and both spread their habits as well as, kind of inculcated that knowledge within others. So what you are seeing is that that distinct divide between large city, small city is now actually getting almost negligible. So people in small can actually, with the availability of the internet, we have almost about 900 million people connected on the internet. We have about 200, 250 million people who are actually buying online. So when you look at all of this, awareness, availability of cheap data, the ability to be able to buy, the extensive distribution of the supply chain partners, the ability of brands to be able to get their products to deeper and deeper India, all of this is making a difference to the behaviors of consumers in small town India. Now when you think about what the future will look like for retail, one of the things that we should remember is that online, which we are seeing at a small stage today, because when you look at the larger Indian market, we still about 80 to 82% traditional retail, which is largely in the offline space. We have about 18%, which I might define as modern retail, and modern retail is divided between modern offline retail and online retail. So this combination is still only less than 20%. So what you are beginning to see is that modern and online is actually making a larger and larger presence. And when I talk about modern, I don't only mean the Reliances and the landmark groups and those of the world. When I say modern, it also means local retailers who've actually decided to be able to modernize their outlets. So an MK Ahmed in Indranagar, who's got maybe 5 stores, a loyal supermarket, all of them fall within the ambit of modern retail. So don't think of them only as corporate retail. So there is an increasing penetration of modern retail, increasing penetration of online, and that is something that we should actually think about. What it will also mean is that we'll need to probably reflect on what should our stores do in the context of a larger digital presence which is possible. The second which is there is, one of the things that we are seeing very distinctly today, both in food and in fashion, is a swing between value and premium. So when you look at the mid end of the market, especially in fashion, what you're seeing is that I don't call it saturation, but there is stagnation. But when you look at the lower end in fashion, which is say sub 1,000 rupees, you can see brands increasing in presence, brands increasing in scale. And that segment of the market today is almost 60% of the market. That 60% is divided between a few brands and retail chains that we know, but a much larger proportion of it is the unorganized apparel market, which is the Howrah market, the Kalba Devi market, the Chandni Chowk market, and the wholesale system which takes out garments from there. A lot of that is sold at prices of 300, 400, 500 rupees, going into smaller towns through the wholesale channel. So that part of the market today is getting organized and getting branded, and more people are moving into it. Well-known brands are things like Zudio, Style Union, but if you go to the north and the east, you'll see Vishal Megamart, V2 Retail, Style Bazaar, Style Kolkata. There is a dime a dozen. And this demand seems to be the highest in the north and east purely because of the distribution of population and the distribution of income. The third thing that we are beginning to see is that when you think about all of that you can do in online, then the question is, what should I do in a store? And the important thing then is, how do you make your store more experiential? How can you make it more than just a transaction point? Because if it's merely a transaction point, somebody can buy online. So it has to be more than transaction, and that's an area for, depending on the kind of businesses that you're in, you got to reflect on to figure out, how do I add value to the customer who's taking the effort to walk into my store, and create a compelling experience which they will remember and will make them come back all the time to your store. Third is in terms of fourth is in terms of omni-channel integration. And we're all seeing that the customer is getting digitally savvy. We also need to adapt. And if we are adapting, then how do we make sure that we are able to kind of adapt ourselves to their behavior, which is omni-channel? It's not about us being omni-channel. It's about keeping track of where our customers are. So if they're online, can I be with them connected online? If they're coming offline, can I connect with them offline? How do I actually adapt and connect with my customers continuously? B2B is a big issue at this point of time, because in the case of B2B, one of the things that we have seen today with digital technologies is that both availability, which used to be a huge information arbitrage that B2B used to have, and payments, which used to be the other arbitrage which B2B used to have, both of these are actually getting reduced. With payment systems, there are enough fintech intermediaries in the system who can actually provide credit on your behalf. In addition to, of course, getting direct payment, even if they want to do a UPI payment, you don't have to get them to actually make a demand draft to give you a check. All payments can be made digitally. Availability of the catalog is today visible to anybody who's connected to you on your platform, whether it's an app or on a website, and they can order. And then you don't need to have your own delivery system. There are enough and more partners who will be part of your delivery system to be able to take it. So that is somewhat putting into question the traditional wholesale channel that we used to have, and the B2B players who used to play an important role there. So what you are beginning to see is that you can now actually modernize as a traditional retailer. And when you modernize as a traditional retailer, that you don't have to make any investments yourself. There are enough SaaS solutions available which will allow you to modernize. If you want to modernize your POS, that is possible. If you think you want to go online, you can either do it yourself or you can partner with ONDC. If you think you need somebody to come and give you a SaaS model to manage your inventory, that is possible. Independent payment gateways are available. Independent last mile logistics providers are available. So there is a lot of things that can be done where you keep to your core, which is actually managing product, managing customer, and let all the other services be done by third parties by actually coupling alongside them. So there is that opportunity, which means that unlike the past where you had to invest a lot in order to be able to modernize. Now it's possible to modernize on a revenue basis and not on a capital basis. So all this means shorter development cycles, especially in the apparel business, where earlier it used to be 9 months. Now it is between 6 weeks to 8 weeks is the runway for a new product to be introduced, if you think of jewelry and all of that. And of course, the more important thing is that supply chains today have become a lot more resilient than what they used to be in the past. So these are some of the changes that are likely to happen, which we should be very, very conscious of. Now, what is applicable to you might depend on which kind of business you're in and in which stage of your retail journey you are. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, the opportunities are there today for both small and large retailers to be able to modernize and to become contemporary, rather than worry about, how can I do it? I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the money. Now, knowledge and money are both easily available. The only thing is, instead of paying for it upfront, you can pay for it monthly in a SaaS model. So that is one of the things that I wanted to just talk about in terms of what will retail look like in the future. Can we get this slide to move? So all of us need to kind of think about getting prepared for the future. Just food for thought. There'll be enough sessions during the course of the day where there'll be a lot more food for thought for you to reflect on, think about, figure out, how do I need to adapt, change, progress, or whatever way you want to be able. It could be just sometimes just simple learning, which can then translate into progress in the future. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.